what sort of challenges are banks and NBFCs facing in technological integration with fintech companies?
Yeah, fundamentally, when we look at both the elements, one being a fintech, one being a bank, both of them have difference in respect to the differences will stem from the respective positions. I mean, one is trying to solve a white space in the market, a very specific white space in the market, and the other one is trying to address the whole market. Now, banks come. If we look at the whole trend, the banks come with a legacy platform, which and a regulatory constraints, which we try to address on a lot of levels. So when we talk about legacy platforms, the agility and the complexity of the modern solutions may not be as relevantly pushed into our platforms at the same ease at what the fintechs may think. So that's one area where I think the bridging always is needs to happen, and there will always be a gap with respect to the thought process. The second would be that one is a regulated entity and the other may or may not be a regulated entity. So there are a lot of regulatory compliances and other elements which come in when we talk about installation of a system inside a bank, technically integrating. While when we talk about a fintech, it may not be relevant for them. The third piece which dovetails into the regulatory compliances would be the data security and privacy laws, which are very stringent for the bank. So when we try to integrate with fintechs, we look at almost all the elements that are relevant with respect to what drives the security around our customers' data. While a fintech may use the data on a multiple different layers, which may or may not be a complete handshake with respect to bank and fintechs. I mean, it depends on the complete business model again. Now, the other technology challenge, what we've also seen is more on the interoperability, the kind of API interfaces, the facilitation of integration, facility to integrate those APIs into the backend systems. And sometimes when it's a agreements between tri-parties like fintechs, NBFCs, and banks, it becomes more complicated, and the complete system design also have to be thought through, because when we are talking in terms of fintechs, now the new age fintechs are talking about 1 billion users. The thought process is quite different. The transactions per second and the system design thinking what comes into play is much different than what we traditionally are used to. The brick and mortar versus even the digital platforms that we are building. Fifth point, which I think is a very key element, is on the risk management piece. It's a very different aspect for a fintech and a bank and even NBFCs. I mean, understanding and effectively managing these risks is a complete domain in itself for banks. So when we are integrating, we start thinking on all the other elements as to how to mitigate these risk which may come from an operational risk or a business risk. The most key fundamental difference what comes in a while integrating with startups, the fintech startups, would be the cultural difference. The fundamental cultural difference is that they want everything now. It's a instant gratification mode for the end customer, while bank has to look at all aspects, and which I think is where the the dovetailing and the synergies have to be built in. Fintechs are always looking at customer experience, while bank is always looking at stability and the monetary aspect with respect to the business as well as the customer experience. The fintechs will always look at scalability. The bank would definitely look at scalability, but at a certain rate and degree of velocity, what we drive with. I think both of them find the balances with respect to technology integration, with respect to competition and cooperation in the market, which is what we've seen. A good example would be our Yes Bank and PhonePe, where we are driving the UPI. It literally drives 40% of the India's UPI transactions through Yes Bank. So that's one aspect of it. And the other aspect which I think will drive the relationship is the time to market. How fast how desperate and fast are banks as well as fintechs or NBFCs to deliver that particular product into the market?